Hey guys, welcome back. I didn't know I was talking for that long, so I apologize. We'll try keeping it under a minute for each character, and for brawlers, we only have 6, which means kabam, come January, I want to see another brawler in this game. Everyone else has like 7 or 8, so we're missing a brawler in this category, so hopefully we get somebody for January. Anyways, Optimus Prime 1, MV1, I gave them the crown. Optimus Primal, I pair this guy up with the other Beast War characters, and he's just a complete beast. Crit armor, this guy basically never takes any crit damage, which is amazing. He's extremely good at taking on characters that inflict bleed, like Bone Crusher in particular. Special one, does a ton of bleed damage depending on how many times Primal has been bled. And if he has the Beast War synergy, which allows him to purify debuffs, he can heal the bleeds, which is amazing. And special 3 gives him 10 armor stacks, crit armor stacks, and if you use a heavy right before you use a special 3 does a ton more damage, so it's great. He's a really strong bot, and of course he's extremely useful in raid, so definitely a really good brawler to consider. MB1 as well, I think he's been a top tier for a while in my opinion. A refreshing armor buff, melee damage buff, and scaling damage. The lower his HP is on his special one can allow this guy to do a ton of damage. I've seen over 10,000 damage with just a special one, which is nuts. It's crazy. Special 2 inflicts bleed, same with special 3, and his signature basically allows him to survive and be unkillable for about, what is it, like 8 seconds, 7 or 8 seconds. Short amount of time, but he also gets 3 armor buffs, 3 melee buffs, and it allows him to do a bunch of damage. So yeah, he's not totally unkillable if he does take a really strong shot from like an Ironhide or somebody. I can just KO him, which kind of sucks, but that little safety net is still there. Up next we have Tantrum. Tantrum is an interesting character. I feel like he's extremely strong. He's, I think, one of the strongest characters in the game. He does require you to have a bit of an aggressive playstyle, and obviously you don't have to just commit to the aggressive playstyle, but if you do want to get like 10 stacks and keep them refreshed, keep them on Tantrum, you do need to play aggressive, and that's one of the downsides to that. It allows you, you're kind of open to taking damage, but at the same time you do a ton of damage, and he's just an extremely strong character, and that's all there is to Tantrum, I think, in my opinion. Special 3 can get over 10 melee buffs with the special 3, but of course they cycle down to only a max of 10, but he does a ton of damage. It's just crazy, and he has an armor, passive armor as well, which is good. Up next is Motormaster. This guy is, I've said it in the past, he's a very noob friendly character, not in a bad way, in a good way, just because he's very one-dimensional. Basically you just dash at the opponent, and you dash at the opponent, 5-hit combo, heavy, dash again, and you're unstoppable. Whenever you dash, the heavies inflict debuffs. Special 1 is a simple 2-hit combo. Special 2 gives you unstoppable, and special 3 inflicts debuffs on the opponent, but it also does damage to you, which I think is special 3 kind of, they should remove that health penalty. But his signature, once awakened, it does allow him to get get melee buffs once he drops below like 80, 60, and 40 and 20%, he gets melee buffs, which allow him to do a bunch of damage. One more thing on Tantrum, he does allow him to purify debuffs as well. Every time once awakened, every 3 melee buffs, he has a chance to purify, or he just completely purifies any debuffs on him. And up next we have Grimlock. The bad thing about Grimlock is he needs to be duped to do anything in the game. Once duped, he becomes amazing. He's a raid god. I take Grimlock with me anytime I go on a raid, and as I play spotlights, if I see that there is going to be like a Bone Crusher up ahead, I will make note of the lane and I'll bring Grimlock for next time. He does need to be duped though, 100% needs to be duped to be good. But of course, once duped, any debuffs on this guy, whether it's shock, acid, burn, bleed, he'll purify that into a melee buff, and as long as you can keep them refreshed like a heavy or even like a special, This guy can do some nasty, nasty, crazy amounts of damage. Even his special 3 does a ton of damage, which is really nice. And last but not least, we have Grindor. I used to call this guy Grindor. I used to completely butcher his name, but it's Grinder. And yeah, he's a character which is, he's good. He's very tanky, has a ton of HP. He has a ton of armor as well. The downside is, again, he's kind of like Motor Master, where he's very one-dimensional. His special 1 is just a 2-hit combo. That's it. His special 3 does more his special 2 does more damage depending on the amount of power that the enemy has, which is really nice. He can do a bunch of damage with that. Special 3 kind of sucks. It's just, I think he just hits him twice as he pops him into the air, and the missile has a chance to inflict burn, but it doesn't always happen, which I think, you know, kind of hinders him on damage every now and then. But once awakened, he does do a lot more damage, but some of these other characters on the list, I think they'd be a lot better than him though. And onto the tech class characters. So we have 8 here: Wheeljack, Ratchet, Shockwave, Rhinox, and Mirage, Blaster, Soundwave, and Jetfire. So as you can see, these guys have a crown. They're all extremely, extremely good characters. Wheeljack and Ratchet, I put them up at the very top. I feel like, again, you cannot go wrong with any character that heals. Wheeljack also has shields, and he has a ton of debuffs. He has power drain, he has shock, he has stun. And if you pair him up with either Jazz or Bumblebee, every Autobot on your team will get a random buff throughout the game, which will either be more damage, defensive buff, or a power rate buff, which is just completely, it's amazing. And if you ever do get three of the same buffs on Wheeljack, he will heal, and his shields are just great. And the fact that Kabam has given this guy to us a lot, it's really good for a lot of the new players and a lot of people that are just starting the game. Extremely fun character, really strong, and some really good synergies. Ratchet, he'll never die. He's he'll never escape the tier list from being really good. Shocks on his ranged. He can keep an opponent, you know, kind of permanently stunned with special 1 into more range, into special 1 into more range. You know, it just keeps going on and on. Can heal a lot more on his special 2 the lower his HP is. Below 50%, he starts getting a power buff and healing as well. And then special 3 is just, you know, a simple 1-hit smack with the cart, but it does a ton of damage. And his signature, if he takes a lot of damage, I think depending on how much damage he receives, he has a chance at completely healing all that damage up, which is really nice. Shockwaves. Oh boy. Now that Jetfire got introduced, Shockwave is extremely good just because he can heal depending on that synergy there, but Shockwave in general is very good. He got a really nice buff. Basically, this guy, anytime he inflicts a shock stack on the opponent, it drains their power and it does shock damage, which is really nice. Special 1 is great. Special 2 has armor pen, and special 3 has repair block, which is great. Works wonders against characters like Waspinator, Megatron, characters like that. And his undo ability is also really good. There's honestly no bad thing to say about Shockwave. If I had a 5-star Shockwave, I would definitely invest in him. Rhinox, another character which is really strong, bleeds on range attacks, which is a little weird if you think about it, but with his energy blaster or whatever. But he's extremely strong. He has shields that cap the damage, and once awakened, they shock the opponent. And special 1 can remove a buff and inflict a bleed. Special 2 does a ton of bleeds, and special 3 does a lot of bleeds. But of course, you know, guys, it all comes down to RNG though on these bleeds, so it's not a given. But Rhinox does he does really well. And then his heavies inflict power lock, and they also power drain a little bit on the opponent, which is nice. And if an opponent is bleeding, he does more damage on his melee hits, which is really good. And up next we have Mirage. Mirage is still that very interesting little dark horse of the tech class characters. A lot of people don't really focus on him that much, which, you know, makes sense. He's a little guy, and but that special 3, man, it all comes down to that special 3. Once you use that special 3, he has a passive shield, which is really good, so it can cap damage on ranged hits. And his special 1, we'll go back to the special 3 in a little bit. His special 1 can inflict power burn, which drains the opponent's powers, and once awakened, it increases like the speed of his projectiles, and he has 100% armor penetration on his range attacks. His special 2, if awakened, it's an unblockable attack, and it inflicts attack debuffs on the opponent, which stun every 7 hits. And his special 3 gives him an attack buff, and every time he sidesteps an attack, he gets a permanent attack buff for the remainder of the game, which allows this guy to do a ton of damage. And at first he wasn't really all that, but once he got fixed back in beta, but then once he got fixed, this guy is extremely good. If you have him, you know, you might want to consider investing in him. A lot of players, I don't think they focus on him just because they don't like his play style, but he can be quite, you know, quite the ROTK favorite at taking down certain characters. And up next we have Blaster and Soundwave. Blaster, amp charges, special 1, get 10 of those, then go for special 2, special 3s. There's not much else there for Blaster. His signature isn't really that beneficial. You don't see it triggering that often unless it's a super high signature, which I don't think a lot of people will invest into that, but he's decent. Soundwave, same thing. His signature, though, it's pretty good. You just have to heavy once and you're guaranteed a special 2, and then you launch a special 2 and you get a special 3. So it's really good. It's really easy to get, you know, your specials with Soundwave. The downside, or the thing I don't like too much about Soundwave, is the lack of damage on like his heavy attacks. The shock don't do too much damage, and then his special 3 doesn't do that much damage either. And then finally Jetfire. So I put him dead last, as you guys will probably know why. I am not a fan of Jetfire. I feel like he's very hindered in his specials, and the whole parry thing, while it's good on paper, I don't think it works in this game. But if you can make it work with Jetfire, you know, more power to you. You'll probably be extremely good playing with Jetfire. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. As long as you know how to play with the bot and he works for you, that's basically it. But Jetfire, I think, special 1, it's lacking. Special 2 as well, lacking in damage. Just overall lacking in damage. But yeah, it's going to be it for the tech class character. Alright guys, so last section here, we have 7 warriors. We have Drift, Bonecrusher, and Scorponok taking the crown. This time, Drift, I don't think there's really too much question there. He's overall a great character. He's, you know, a bleeding machine, completely well-rounded. He gets crit damage, crit buff, and I think a precision buff as well, which just makes him very strong. And just the fact that he also gets like evasion on bleeding opponents gives him a little bit of a safety net as well. And just overall really strong character. Bonecrusher, this guy's all about the bleeds. Once awakened, he gets increased power and power rate as well. And the opponent's is decreased by the same amount depending on the signature. And special 1, special 2, special 3, they all bleed. This guy is just all about bleed. Call him the bone cactus of the game. And up next we have Scorponok. He was recently released, and he's very interesting, and I really like him. The main thing being, once awakened, anytime he takes any damage, he will repair, you know, depending on the signature level, he'll repair the damage, which I like to think of his signature as just like a permanent shield. He will take, you know, the full damage, so there is a chance that he can get KO'd from like a normal, like heavy or anything like that, but he'll repair the damage, which is really cool. So yeah, just think of it like a shield. And then he can also bleed, and he has venom backfires, which are really cool. Depending on how many backfires you have on the opponent, they'll either trigger, I believe it's if you have like 2 backfires on the opponent, they'll get stunned, and the backfires will trigger if they don't use a special attack. they will trigger and stun the opponent. If they have 2 backfires or more, and if they have 3 or more backfires and they expire, the opponent will take shock damage equal to like 500% of his attack rating, which is nuts. And overall, just a really strong character. Special 1, he also can daze the opponent, as well as Special 1 and Special 3 will daze, and then Special 2 just converts all of the venom charges into backfire debuffs on the opponent. But the daze thing is interesting just because any special range attacks will never hit Scorponok, so it's really nice. Up next we have RC. RC is another one that goes under the radar for a lot of people, and the headshot damage that she has is absolutely nuts. And anytime this Autobot crits with her basic attacks, she gets a ton of power, man. The main way I play RC is just spamming like special ones, and if you get headshots, it does a ton of damage, bleeds, and she also evades range attacks. She has a chance to evade range attacks, which is really nice. And up next we have Hot Rod. Hot Rod, he's the perfect counter to anyone that evades, or any character like in a spotlight that has like an evade mod. He decelerates them, which prevents evasion, and then on decelerated opponents he has a chance to crit. He gets crit buffs as he's hitting them, and then, you know, launches Special 2, Special 1, and he can do a lot of damage. But that's about it for our boy Hot Rod here. And up next we have Bludgeon, and Swordmaster synergy. This guy is absolutely insane. I know you guys, the majority have probably seen the picture of J32's Bludgeon doing like 130,000 damage, and yeah, it's not fake, it's completely real. Bludgeon with Swordmasters, and plus with his crit signature, his crit damage signature. If everything lines up perfectly, this guy does an insane amount of damage. But by himself, you know, he's a tanky bot. He can get armor buffs. His bleeds, while they don't have that high of a chance at triggering, they do a ton of damage. So pairing this guy up with Swordmasters, I think it's a must. But by himself, he's okay, you know, he's okay, but definitely not the best. And up next we have Hound, our boy Hound. Oh, Hound. I'm going to take this guy up to rank 5 for the memes one of these days, and we'll play with him. We will beat Mixmaster with Hound. Mark my words, we will do it. And but the main thing going for Hound is the lack of damage, and that's just what it comes down to in this game. You want to be able to take down the opponent quickly. Hound, unfortunately, is one that cannot. Even with the Warrior Ballerina, sometimes I see it do some decent damage, but a lot of the times I just find myself, you know, triggering burns even when I alternate his ammo type or whatever. I don't see that much damage. I would much rather use RC, get headshot damage. I'm guaranteed to do a lot of damage there with the bleeds and the headshots, but with Hound, it's very low. Even if it's the burns, even if it's the bleeds on his Special 2, Special 3, it's very low damage. But I think with the decent buff, Hound could work, man. He could honestly work. But until then, he's gonna remain dead last on my list of characters that I would prioritize. But yeah, that's gonna be it, guys, for this tier list. I apologize for rambling on for so long. Like I said, I'll add timestamps so that way you guys can skip around without having to listen to a bunch of BS. But hopefully this helped out. If you guys had any questions on who to prioritize and who you should be investing your resources into, but yeah, definitely look over this. I'm completely open to suggestions. If you guys, you know, let me know who you guys think are the best characters in each class. But like I said, again, purely my opinion on these bots, and in the right hands, any character, you know, you can make them work as long as you know the bot, you're familiar with them, and you know the matchup that you're going up against. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, and we will be back next year with another tier list once more bots get added. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.